Okay. So, good evening once again. Right. So today's topics, as I mentioned, we are going to discuss about continuing from the previous topic, that is lambda expressions, and there is one more important concept called a generator. So there is a huge difference between generator and list comprehension. So we need to know that, and we will see some topics based on regular expression, that is Python regx module, so which is very powerful module for doing the pattern matching, string searching, right? So searching for a particular data in the given string. So for that task we use the regular expression concepts. Okay. Yeah, so today that is the agenda. So lambda concept only I'm going to cover once again. So just revising with what we did in the last session is lambda expression, right? We covered how to create a function, right? What are the function parameters, how to call the function parameters with keyword, default arguments, required arguments, right? So similarly, there is a one more function called as lambda function, right? So why we use lambda function? To generate a single output data. So where you need to we need to extract only single value from a large set of value. For that we use lambda expression. So what is the syntax for lambda expression? So lambda keyword should be there compulsorily, and argument should be there. Then colon is mandatory, right? See here, colon, and after colon, the right side, the function body, the lambda function body. And how to call the lambda expression? You can't directly call it using the lambda keyword. You need to have a reference variable to call the lambda. So here lambda one is my reference variable. So I have to call the lambda one and pass two values to it, right? So that is the simplest form of lambda expression, so which we covered in the last session. So similarly, here what we are trying to do, we are finding the minimum of two numbers with the help of lambda expression, right? So the reference name is minimum, and in that I have to pass the how many parameters we have. X comma y means I have to pass two parameters. So we are returning as x if x is less than y, or else y. So I think I was discussing about this question, right, in the last session. So I'll just repeat what we are doing here. So we are trying to find out second largest element from the nested list. So we are having the nested list, and from each list we are finding out the second largest value. So how this function works? So basically observe. So first thing is we are calling this lambda expression, right? So res is my reference name for the lambda. So I'm passing the entire list here, my list. So res is the reference name. So res of my list. Why I'm passing only one value to it? Because this lambda expression is taking only one parameter, one argument. So I need to pass only one value to it. Then suppose try to pass some other value. So you'll get a syntax error. So lambda takes one positional argument, but two were given. So you need to be very careful about what you are passing to the lambda expression. So as you can see, we are having the sorted we are having the second largest element from each list. So to make our job simpler, we are using two lambda functions. So this one is actually finding the second largest element, whereas this one is sorting the lambda expression. This one is sorting our nested list, right? So what is happening, how it is working is, so I is our expression, the reference my list. So what we are doing here, expression is L of minus 2. So L of minus 2 as suggested by one of your friend online the last session. So we are trying to access the second, right, the string slicing, last but one. So in the reverse direction. So that means when the array is already sorted, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Suppose if the array is already sorted, it is very easier to find out the second largest element using the slicing concept. So I'll just extract this 4 from the sorted data by using L of minus 2. Got it? So L is just a name. You can use any name here. So L of minus 2 for L in sorted data of 5. So see here, for at this point, we are again calling one more lambda expression, right? So what is the name of the another lambda expression? The reference name is sorted data. So for which I am passing I. So here I is indicating what? My list, right? So I is indicating my list. So we are passing the entire list, that is my list, to this sorted data lambda expression. So what is this particular lambda expression is doing is it is just sorting out the entire list, right? Nested list, each value sorted of num for num in I. So I is our my list, and num is our expression variable. You can use any name here. So we are just sorting out each list one by one. So this particular data, whatever it sorts, again it will return that data here. So we'll get the sorted value here. In that sorted value, we are picking up the second largest element using L of -2. So that is the basically the order of the execution, how it works. But what you are observing here is every time when you call the lambda expression, you are trying to get or you are trying to extract a single value from that, right? So here we are trying to extract the second largest value. So finally, this result will have second largest value from each list. So L of -2 for L in sorted data. So from this list, I'll get the second largest value. From this list, second largest value. From this list, second largest value in that way. So that's how the lambda expression can be used. So again, it's not necessary. If people understand, they can use it, or else they can use the normal function also. So this is just to save your some typing time. So it's not necessary to use the lambda expression, but it's one of the important interview questions because it is a unique feature supported in the Python only. So lambda concept is not there in any other language, right? So we'll see some more example based on this. So I'll give you one question so that let me see, you can try it if you want. Uh, okay, so the question what I want to give is given two strings. Let's start from the simple one. Given two strings, uh, return the string or like not return, print the string which is having the maximum length using lambda, right? So this is your question. So can you please explain the my list line? Which one you are talking? This one? Hey, the output is 654. What exactly you are not understanding, Shrikar? Okay, so you can let me know. Just type it. Right. So meanwhile, the others can try to, solve this particular question using lambda. So what is my requirement now? Your lambda expression is taking two strings, and you have to return the string with the maximum length. So how will you do it? Okay, if the right. So or else you can say like this to make it easy. Yeah, like that. I think it's we can use any. This would be also correct question only. Yeah, we can just try this only. Yes, Vijay Chandra has given some example. Okay, so you can read two strings, JRIT, college, right? So you're getting the string with the maximum length. So simple, right? So you can read two values from the list, right? Then, I mean, you can read the values separately. Then you can pass those A and B to the lambda expression. Then the result will be stored in L1, right? So print L1 of A comma B. Basically, you see that it's a single output. Whatever we have done it here also, it's a single output, single list output. Finally, it will return a single list output. For example, if you so like if you call this sorted data, right? So why it is printing a object? So you have to convert that into list because lambda expression always returns the object. Function object is not iterable. Yeah, so, yeah, sorry, this one will not work because this is the reference name, right? This is the reference name of the particular lambda expression. So you can call it like this: print sorted data of miles. So now you can see what it is printing. It is printing a single output only, single nested list where the output is sorted 3, 5, 6, 8, 16, 23, 54, right? So you can call it like this. So same thing what we are doing here is we are calling that list name, I mean the lambda expression name with the A and B as the parameters. So we are returning A if the length of the A is greater than length of B, else we are returning B, right? So it's a simple way of using the lambda expression. Okay, so similarly, you can try some other examples. For example, here take one more list, read the value from the user. So here I want to read the list of values separated by space. Okay, so here I am reading list of value, list of map of input dot split. So you are going to enter list of integer values separated by space. So like instead of doing it separately, you can directly pass the entire lambda expression inside the map. Okay, so list of map, you can pass the entire lambda expression. Lambda, take the expression name as I, then I into 2, and you have to give the reference for this map function. So the reference would be the list name, right? LST. Then you can try to print the result. Okay, so one more bracket is missing. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are multiplying the each value, whatever we are entering, by 2, 4 into 2. So first value is multiplied by 2, 4, 8, 10, 12, right? Like that. So we are just squaring that number, the whatever the values that we are entering from the user, right? But what is the difference you are observing? Here we had to call the lambda separately using the reference variable. But here I'm not calling the lambda expression. I'm just storing the final result in the res variable, but I'm calling this entire lambda expression inside the list map. So map, you can explore in the map. What is the syntax for map? Right. So syntax is what? Function map can accept function and iterable, right? So both it is going to work. So when you are reading the value from the user, this is acting like a iterable. Int is a function name. Input dot split is a iterable. Similarly, lambda is a function name. LST is the iterable. So whatever the values that you have stored inside LST, that will be given as a reference for this particular lambda expression. Correct? So hope you can use it for like simple programs. Any other example you want to, for example, uh, say, okay, let's do one thing. So don't tell me the answer completely. Vijay Chandra, you can wait for some time. So let others try. Uh, take the question like this. Read a list of strings separated by space. Then extract first character from each string and print it. Print them as a single list. Right, that is the question. So what you have to do is just like how you've done with the numbers, you have to read a list of strings separated by space. Then you have to extract first character from each string in that entire sentence and print them as a single list using Lambda. So how can you do it? And you can use any one of this method, either this method or this method. Any one method you can use it. Yeah, so you can take your time. What should be the first line? Only send me the first line. What should be the first sentence? Read the list, right? So input dot split. Why I'm using split? Because by default, the Python reads the data in the string format, and I have to extract each string separately and then find the first character from each string, right? So first job is to split them. So that is the first sentence. So what should be the second line? Anyone? Anyone else apart from Vijay Chandra and others? Apply the same logic, whatever I have done it here. No one? Okay. So Vijay Chandra, what is the second line we have to do? Just send me the second line. You can use the this syntax or this one, any one of the syntax. Okay. So res equal to yes. So okay, Nikhil is using a different way of reading the string. So he's using the list comprehension. This is also fine. Okay, result equal to list of map of. Inside the map, I can pass the lambda expression directly. Lambda variable name I, then I of 0. So I of 0 means we are extracting the first character and for which the reference is the list. This is one way of doing it. Then you can directly print the result. Okay, so you can see we are passing the entire list to the lambda expression, right? But what you are observing here is we are not calling that lambda unlike here. So if you are putting inside the map, you need not to worry about calling it. You just need to store the answer somewhere and you can print it. Yeah, so anybody else? Yeah, this one. So I have to comment line this. So answer equal to lambda of L, I of 0 for I in L, correct? So here I have to call the lambda expression with the reference name. What is the reference name here is answer ANS. And what I have to pass to it, the list name. Okay, so both of them are going to work. Yeah, here. Now this will work because Vijay Chandra, this will work because we are calling it separately. So LST will be stored with L. So there is no problem with L here. But in the first case, we have to pass LST. Both are going to work, but which one is better or easier one is calling inside the map would be easier one because you are just finally converting that into a list and printing them within a single line. Here you have to call it separately with the reference name. So whatever is easier for you, you can follow that approach. Okay, so any other example? There is one more important function called as filter. So I have not explored much, but I have some idea. So you can just explore further. So there is something called as filter in Python. Okay, so what does filter do? Uh, so filter function returns an iterator. It returns an iterator where the items are filtered through a function to test if the item is accepted or not. So we'll see this example. Just see this example. This is also very powerful function called as filter function. These are all function concepts. Okay. So see here we have some list called as ages. then we are calling this filter function. We are using this filter function, passing uh, the name of the function and the reference list. So what is the syntax for the filter function? Function name and iterable, just like map. This is also same thing, but it is going to filter the value based on certain condition. So for example, here the function that we are passing is not the lambda expression, it is a user defined function. So here it is a user defined function. So my function, we are calling it, right? But you need not to mention the parameter name. Parameter will be considered as ages only here. So ages is the parameter for this particular function. So it is filtering the data based on this condition. So in this particular list, it is iterating over each character, each value. If x is less than 18, return false, else return true. So you see, it is just filtering the large say data set into the different data set just by a single line, correct? So you can use this kind of filter function to achieve certain filtering works. So similarly, let's try to use some other example for your understanding. Let's try to read the input from the user. List of values, integer values. Suppose if I want to filter even numbers without doing all this, I can do it directly using a single line with the help of both filter as well as lambda. So let's call the filter function. So inside the list, I have to call the filter function. Inside the filter, I will use the lambda function because filter accepts the function, right? You can use the lambda function also. So lambda x mod 2 equal to 0. So just a basic example for your understanding. Then filter function requires a reference, right? So here for me, the reference is LST. Okay. So what it is doing, it is creating a list of even numbers with the help of both filter as well as lambda, right? You can do it in this way also because filter generally accepts any function, so you can use it even for lambda also, right? You can do it without help of filter also. Can you do it without help of filter? All that you need to do is just list of, you can use map. So here I'm using filter, you can use map also. In this case, both map and filter both will work because the target is same, right? Yes, but what is the difference you observe? Both are giving you the output. So I just wanted you guys to understand the difference here. So when I use filter, what is the output I'm getting? When I'm using map of lambda, what is the output I'm getting? So this is what you need to experiment with uh, the ways in which the functions work, right? Both the logics are looking like similar, but here I'm getting true, false, and here I'm getting the exact values. So what is the difference? The map function executes a specified function for each item in the iterable, right? So basically it will execute the function and returns true or false condition, right? So it doesn't return the exact set of values, correct? So list of map lambda I into 2. So here what we did, that is our logic, right? So here x mod 2 equal to 0, but we are not actually uh, you know of filtering the value. We are storing the result of this. So x mod 2 0 means first one is 4, 4 mod 2. Yes, for specific condition checkup, map returns not value but boolean value. So we use filter. Yes, very good. So here it is returning the boolean value. Map function will return the boolean value, true or false condition, right? So x mod 2 equal to 0. It is a true or false condition. So it is just returning whatever the value that it is giving as it is, right? Whereas filter based on the value. It is filtering the list. So it is not returning the exact value that is given by this lambda function. It is filtering the original list based on this condition. So whatever Nitin said exactly. So based on this lambda expression, what it is doing is it is filtering the existing set of values and creating the new list out of it. So these are the important questions, interview questions. What is the difference? Why we need to use filter? Why we need to use map? You should have a clarity on the return type. What should be the return type for map, filter, right? Lambda. So you need to have a clarity when you are practicing, right? So hope you are able to make the difference between these two, filter and map. Okay, based on this filter, so let me ask you to give one more program. So if you can try it. So you can read a list of integers, filter the values, value is greater than 10 using filter function. Okay, that is the question. So what you need to do, read the list of integer values, and from that list, filter the values from the existing list and create a new list whose value is greater than 10. So you have to just pick up all the values from the list of integer whose value is greater than 10. So just try this one. Anyone? Okay. Yes. Okay. So most of you are getting. Okay. So this is another way of reading the integer value. So hope you guys remember it. Int of x for x in input dot split. Uh, then what they are doing just for calling the lambda function inside the filter. So x is greater than 10. Reference is yeah. Okay. So we are having all the numbers whose value is greater than 10. So you see how powerful these functions are. They are making your job much easier when you know how to apply them based on the requirement, right? So instead of writing the long for loop and logic and iterating over one by one, you can use these functions as and when necessary. Uh, but again, understanding the logic, what will work, what will not work is up to you guys. Like you have to be very careful about what is going to be written. Okay. So moving on, suppose here we are combining inside the list, right? So we'll see some other example and I'll ask you what is the output of this question. Okay, so can you guess the output of this question? What is happening here? So I have some lot of values inside the list, my list, and we're passing so many values to it. I mean, we're storing so many different data types into it: true, false, boolean, negative numbers, positive numbers, floating point value, then empty list, empty set. Correct. So what does filter will do here? Because I have not passed any function to it. So in the place of function, I have just written none, right? Filter will accept one function, right? So in the place of function, I've just written none. So will it print something or will it print just the original list as it is or just an empty list? Can guess it. You have to guess it. Don't type and check. Predicting the output is also important in case of right MCQ questions. Right. So no one is responding. Okay. So now, okay, very late reply. So none means no function. So it prints all. Fine, fine. I think anyway I've executed it. Now that you are seeing the output on my screen, just try to understand what it is filtering. What it is filtering. See, filter function accepts another function, right? A function to be run for each item. But here I'm not passed any function. Instead, I've written none. So basically, it is filtering all the none values. Right? See, the first parameter is basically going to work whatever you mention. Like here, I'm mentioning x is greater than 10 means all the values will be filtered who are having greater than 10. Whereas here, I am mentioned as none. So you know, right? What is none is a data type. Again, that none means it is filtering all none values from the list and creating the new list. So which are the none values? False means like it belongs to the category of no output. So that means none only. Zero means also none. 0.0 also none. And empty list or empty set, both of them are considered as a none only, right? So if you want to filter all the true values, right? I mean, all the true values, anything greater than for 1 or 0 is considered as a true value. So it is just filtering all the true values from the existing list. So that is how it is going to work. So you can pass anything into the filter function, but you should make sure that whether it is going to work for you or not. Like not all the time this might work. Suppose if I say 5, this will not work because int object is not callable, but none is callable, right? So if I pass true, again bool object is not callable. So you should know what is going to work. None is working because it is neither a data type nor an integer value nor a floating point value. It is just acting like a null function, right? So none is going to work. Even if you try any other value, false, it doesn't work because bool object is not callable. That is what you're going to get. Okay, so you have also got some clarity on filter and lambda, how to apply based on the logic. So similarly, we have one more important function called as reduce function. Okay, reduce function in Python. So to use reduce function, we have to use uh, the library name called as reduce. Again, this library reduce is not directly available, so you have to import it from the another library. So from function tools, the name is FUNC tools. From FUNC tools, import reduce. So this is the first line you should always write if you want to use reduce function in your code. So what is this syntax telling you? From this function tools, import reduce. So this is a part of this function tool. So syntax is from and import. So not just import reduce, right? So just let me just show you syntax. Okay, so what is the syntax of reduce function? Reduce is an inbuilt function that applies a given function to the elements of an iterable, reducing them to single value. So just like lambda and filter, this is also going to help you to just get a single value from the logic, right? So what is the syntax to use it? From the function tool, reduce the keyword, and you have to pass function to it, comma, iterable. So iterable value you have to pass. And if you want to have some initialization value, initialization variables, you can pass them along with the iterable. So that is the reduce syntax. Okay. So let's try to understand how we can use it based on the necessary, like whenever you want this kind of logic needed. Let's read the list of integers. So I am going to use the reduce function. So reduce in the bracket. Again, I can pass the lambda function also inside the reduce. Then pass the reference list. Okay. So what it is doing, can anyone tell me? Or it will take some simple values. Yeah, I've entered three values, 4, 5, 2. And what it is doing, multiplying all, right? Multiplying all. So you see, it is reducing that entire list into a single value based on the function logic that we are applying using lambda expression. So reduce the name of the function and the parameter. So can you guys try to do this using uh, normal lambda expression like what we have done here? Is it possible? Can anyone try? So whether it is possible to do this without using reduce? Filter also not possible because filter means you are just, extracting certain values from the existing list, right? So filter also is not going to help you. But can you directly use lambda to do this job? Try. Anyone try? So this is the library file. So what is my question? So you need to use only lambda expression without the help of reduce to get the same data, same output, like this. Can you modify this? Filter is not required, right? So you should use the normal lambda expression concept like this. Okay. So lambda of L, I of 0 for I in L, right? So can you modify this? What you can write here? You have to take how many parameters? Single parameter only. So I want you guys to do this same logic without using reduce. Mm, okay. Nikhil has given some input. Okay. So try to understand from the basics. Can I directly take two values, for example, two parameters, x comma y? This is not possible, right? So x comma y, what do you have to do? Since we are passing the entire list here, inside that list, can you directly write x comma y for, x comma y, something like this? What is our expression? X into y. Is it going to work? I'm just asking you. So what it is telling, cannot unpack non-iterable int object. So some people will be trying like this, right? So you can't unpack directly the list value. So that's what you should know what works when you are using the Lambda. So in the previous case here, it will work because we are calling just a single value, right? So here LST, we are calling I of 0. We're just extracting a single value. So it will work. But here I need two values, right? Each value should be multiplied together. So 4 into 5 into 2. So you can't take like this. So this is not going to work. So like anybody else? Already Nikhil has given some logic. Anybody else? Again, why you're using function tools? This is not required. Yeah. Okay. So you see, without using reduce, what is doing? Uh, a comma b, a into b. Initially is assigned mul to 1. This is what is important. So for I in range of length of L. So this is important, right? Because you have to multiply each value one by one. That means you have to use range function. So range function will tell you how many values are there in the list. Then what is doing inside? Multiplying. How is multiplying? He is calling this lambda expression res. Then res is calling, is passing mul. Initial value is 1. So 1 comma L of I. So L of I means what is passing initially 4. So 1 into 4 it will be, then 4 into 5 next, then that output, basically 4 into 5 output, then that 20 into 2. So in that way it is going to work. So this is how you should know whether it is necessary or not. But you see which one is easier? Nikhil has already given that output. You can compare this output and whatever I explained using reduce. So which one is much easier to do this kind of logic? Reduce, right? So without reduce, you need to do all this, right? Approach without reduce. So without reduce, using lambda only, correct? So you're getting the same output, but the thing is you have to do all this procedure because you have to extract each value and multiply by the previous value, correct? But all that headache is gone here. Who is taking care of all that headache? The reduce function is going to take care. So internally accessing each value from the list and multiplying, everything is taken care by reduce. Yeah. So Shantan, new user. This is also good. Shantan code is also good. Okay, see, both the logics are working. Both of them have their own way of implementation, right? Here is using for loop, finding the total elements in the list, then multiplying it. That is fine. But here Shantan is doing a bit differently, not much different. But what is that he is doing is he is extracting individual values from the list using lambda. See, there is no logic, much logic here in the lambda. He's just extracting each value from the list. Then he's extracting the list directly, not using range. So for I in A, so he's extracting each character, each integer from the list directly, then result into 5. Correct? So result into 4, result into 5. In that way, he's doing. But again, there is no use of this, right? Yeah. So Shantun, actually, you are not applied. There is no use of that lambda only. I forgot to just observe. Without lambda also, it will work because you are just using the normal logic. Yes. So this is not 100% right way. Whatever you're doing it is unnecessary. But if you want to do it using lambda, right? If you want to do it using lambda, then this is the only way. So what you can do, I think, is there any other way? Can we do it? Nikhil, can you change his code? Is it possible? I mean, how can you incorporate lambda in this code for everyone? How can you incorporate lambda in this code to do this task? So this is just a normal approach, right? Yeah. So now he has changed it. Yes. So what he's doing? Result into f of I. Again, this is also unnecessary, but anyway, that's your logic. You are applying some logic into it. So we'll appreciate that. Lambda I, comma I. Okay. So now instead of extracting each value directly, each value directly, what he's doing is calling the lambda function. So result into f of I. Okay. So result into f of I is okay. So it's fine. So he's passing just each character. I mean each value from the string. I mean in the list, and it's just again it's unnecessary. Doing all this is unnecessary. You just need to basically this lambda has to do the multiplication work. So as Nikhil sent it, lambda has to do the multiplication work. So if you're doing inside the for loop, then there is no use of this lambda, right? Multiplication work has to be done by lambda. Somebody has sent sum of natural numbers. Okay, you are combining all these things, not necessary. Your code has to be simple, user friendly, easy to understand. Anyway, so we'll move on to the next one. We'll take some other example. Let's use ready now. Okay. See, for this kind of reducing, what it is reducing now, it is again, yeah, that's what I said. It's like unnecessary to do this. Anyway, no issue. Okay, so here again, we are reducing this into single value. So if we are having a string of values here, Python is awesome. 3 strings are there in the list. Now we are converting that entire string into a single value using the reduce function. because we are merging all strings into one value means that is also reduction only, right? You are reducing into some smaller value, right? To do that, what we are doing is taking two parameters, x and y. So can anyone tell me what will be the initial value of x and y here? Because I am using two values, x and y is mandatory. What is the initial value of x and y? So basically, you should know how the internal working of this reduce or lambda works, right? Internal procedure basically. So yeah, okay, Vijay Chandra, x is Python, y is very good. So okay, fine. So x is Python, y is. So this one is Python and this one is, right? So we are just extracting them and combining together with space. Okay, after that, what will be the next set of x and y? Can anyone tell me? That is the initial set of x and y. Next, what will happen? Okay, very good. So basically, you see, it is storing all the temporary result into some internal cache memory or somewhere, and it is extracting one by one. So you don't know how it is working basically. You have to think logically, like visualize the procedure in your mind and see how it is working, right? So initial value of x and y is Python and is, then we'll merge them, we will merge them together. So now the list will reduce down to Python is comma awesome. Then again now x will become Python is and y will become awesome. In that way it will keep on, I mean, iterating one by one. So that is what the internal procedure is. So you should not confuse like how it is taking x and y. What is x and y? There is no reference. So for everything the reference is list. So internally it is taking all the accessing, indexing. So you need to just visualize the picture of the implementation and how it is going to work. Correct? Okay, now that you have the same code, mm, I want different people trying giving me the answer, just genuine answers. Like I can understand whether you are doing it by yourself or not. Okay, so modify the same code, whatever I've written here, and I want the output as I want the output as like PIA. So what is PIA? I want the first character from each string using reduce function. So except Vinay, Lakshmi, Nikhil, and Vijay, I want different set of people trying the code, right? So I appreciate these guys. Consistently you are working, but I want others also to improve. Can anyone, apart from these people, try to reduce it to the PIA? I want the output as just PIA. Try honestly and modify the same code, whatever I've given, and give me the answer. Anyone? What is my requirement? Extract first character from each string using reduce function along with lambda. Okay, Kirti. Okay. So let's take the same example. What is your answer? X of 0 plus y of 0. Okay. So what is happening, Kirti? There is only printing PA. Why it is printing only PA, you should understand. Initial value of x is P, then next value is A. So you have already reduced down it to single value. So there is no other reference for it to concatenate, right? So obviously the output will be only PA. Anybody else? Harika? Okay. I colon A of 0. Okay, let's see. Lambda takes one positional argument, but two were given. Shrikar. No, Shrikar, reduce should be there. You have to use reduce function. I don't want any other solution which is using some complicated logic. Just simple reduce function you should use. No other answers. What is that? Just modification, simple modification. Okay, now the other guys. Anybody from Nikhil? What you're trying to do, Vinay? Vinay Shri. Sorry. Vinay Shri, I want PIA extracted from this. You are creating your own PIA. Very good. Jugad. Vinay Shri is applying her Jugad. So I don't want this Jugad. So my question is within this you have to extract from this string list only you have to extract. Okay. Anybody else like Nikhil, Vinay, Vijay, anybody? Yeah, pick. I'll give last 2 minutes. It's raining heavily, so you guys need to solve quickly before the power goes. No one? Okay. Okay, fine. Python is so. So you have to create a string as it is. This has to be as it is. Okay, this is not working. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Here, when you are trying to extract, you know, basically you are trying to extract a single character from the lambda, right? Then after that, what? Basically, after that, what? Because you are passing the entire list to it, then there is no reference for it to continue with the next set of character. So generally, like what is the error means like it is not taking the next character. That is the error. Lambda takes one position argument, but two were given. That means you are just telling lambda I, right? So I is here indicating as a single value, but you are passing the entire list to it. That might be one of the reason. Hmm. Okay. Meghana is giving some other answer. Okay. Again, this is fine. This may be working, but it's not efficient one. But let's see what she is doing here. So lambda x comma y, x plus y, fine. So it's concatenating I of 0 for I in list. Okay. So this is what I think, Nikhil, you might have understood what is the reason it is not going to work. First thing is you have to extract each character, I mean the zeroth character from each string, correct? Then once you get it, you have to concatenate. That is the procedure. So here lambda is taking the entire list as a reference. But what is happening in this line is it is only having p as the reference, right? I of 0 as the reference. After that, it doesn't know what to do with the remaining values. So that's why it is giving the error as takes one position argument, but two were given. So like two were given means there are more than one parameters in the list, right? That is what it is observing. But again, this is not efficient because you are creating an entire separate list to extract each character. So simple procedure is there. Like let's go to the reduce function. See, there is something called as initializer right here. Reduce function iterable initializer. So you can make use of this initializer value. So we'll just modify the same code, whatever Megan has given. It's good. Whatever the code she has given is good, but not much efficient in terms of memory. So what we will do, x comma y, x plus y of 0, then we'll pass that list and I will use initial value. See, this is what is going to help you. How it is going to work, I'll tell you. Okay. See here, right? So initializer value. So what is this initializer value is telling you? The optional initializer argument is used to provide initial value for the accumulated result. If no initial value is specified, the first element of the iterable is used as the initial value. Okay. So what we are telling the compiler is, so initially we don't have, basically we're creating a string, concatenated string here. Initial string is null. Initialization value is null. Or let's try to remove this. See, if I remove that, what it is doing, uh, Python, then GA, correct? So basically, the first value it is accepting py Python entire value as x value. Then based on that reference, x plus y, we have next parameter, right? So we have Python now in our the concatenated value, then y of 0. It is iterating in that order. So to avoid this, I don't want to take the first value as the reference, correct? So I am initially taking null. Then when we say initial value is null means, so x plus y of 0. So this x is acting like a initial null value. Y of 0 is accessing each first string from each first character from each string, right? So here is x representing what? Is it representing Python or is it representing null? So here it is x representing null. So null plus y of 0. So y of 0 means p. Then that will be concatenated with the next set of values. So in that way, it is going to help you to work, right? So again, Lakshmi is also used list comprehension. That is not necessary. You can just use this particular syntax. Basically, I have tried this. It's not like you have to use this method only, but I was trying to concatenate different way. So this is the one way which you can do it by making use of the initialization value in your reduce function. Okay, you can try with the different logics with the initialization value in the reduce and see if it works for you or not. This one also I think I tried initially, but this didn't work. Uh, Again, the reason what I understood is because it is a list, right? So you can't just directly access each character I of 0 and concatenate into a string. Somebody has to concatenate, right? So nobody is concatenating in this logic, right? So you have to concatenate and print it as a single output. Somebody has to do that job. So here x plus y of 0 is doing that job. So initialization value is empty, empty plus each character we are concatenating. So the same logic, but we require two parameters. With single parameter, it is not possible. You can go through this error again at this line. Lambda takes one position argument, but two were given. Hope we got some clarity. I know it's like not that easy to understand, but you have to keep trying. Okay, let's take some other example and see like in real time question. So this is one way of doing it, like concatenation and all. But we can apply this reduced for the real life problems. Like for example, uh, take an integer import and see what I'm going to do using reduce function. Okay, can you guess what does it will print? What does this code might print? So you can see the examples from here. Generally, what I observed is whenever you are using the reduce function, correct, you might be requiring minimum two parameters to work with it to get the exact result. In general, I'm talking. It's not necessary. Some initialization value, then what is the next value? Because you are iterating over two set of values and you want to reduce them to single value, right? So generally two parameters are required, like Nikhil, Siddharth, product of your numbers. Yeah. Okay. So it's like a factorial, nth factorial we are trying to get the output from. Okay. So factorial of the numbers, 8 factorial is 40,320. So again, I am not having a number. I mean, I'm not having a list here. I'm just having a single number. So if you want to give the reference to the reduce function, it has to be a iterable. So we have to convert this n into range of values starting from 1. Again, 1 because the output will be 0 otherwise. If I make it as 0, output will be all zeros, right? Because we are trying to find out the factorial. So starting from the range 1, 1 comma n plus 1, correct? So that means up to fifth number. Okay, so initially again, tell me what will be x and y value here? Anyone? What will be the initial value of x and y? X into y we are saying, right? Very good. So initial value of x and y is 1, 2. So 1 into 2 is 2. Then that 2 will be stored in x and the next value y will be 3. So 3 into 2, 6. Then that 6 will be x. Yeah, in that way. So, correct. So that's what you have to visualize this procedure in your mind and understand how the logic is going to implement. Okay. So we'll take one last example from this and we'll move on to the next topic. Hope it is quite interesting for you to understand these kind of important functions. So you need not to worry about too complicated logic. So whatever I'm teaching, this kind of question, if you're able to solve, it's more than enough for your like interview. So you are just using the how to do the things in Python with much of ease compared to the other languages with the help of all these functions. So the same logics you might have done factorial in other languages, right? C or Java or any other language, right? But you see how much difference is there in terms of Python and how these functions are helping you to do these things quickly. So you need not to do something big, to become expert in Python. You just need to know whatever you're doing in C, how to do it in Python. That understanding, if you can do it, get it, then that is going to help you a lot, and it is more than enough, to prove yourself that you are good in Python, right? So here, what I'm having is a nested list. Okay, I'll take one more example based on the nested list. So how to apply reduce on the nested list, we are going to learn. Again, two parameters is mandatory. So what does it do? Basically, x plus y, we are concatenating two list and converting it into a single list, right? So 145567853. So all those values, are reduced down to a single set of values. So you can apply on the nested list also, right? So this is all about three important functions that we discussed today. What are they? Lambda, filter, and reduce. So explore more problems, try if it works for you. Whatever the logic that works, you can just keep doing with it, or else you can try the brute force approach. So you need not to worry if it doesn't work, right? Always the last option you have is brute force, right? But if it doesn't work, you need not to panic, uh, because it's not necessary to use them always. They are the like making your job easier. That's the only difference. But the time complexity wise, space complexity wise, they like take almost the same amount of time. So if you could solve using these functions, no problem. You can solve it, or else you can just apply the brute force logic. Okay, so I'll just introduce next topic, and we'll continue in the Thursday session. So next session will be on Thursday. So a lot of important topics are going to come in the upcoming session, right? Before we wind up the Python session. So last week of June, we'll be having Python third assessment, right? So before that, I want to cover some more topics, and some as requested by few students. I will try to cover DSA with Python, like basic whatever you're doing in data structure, searching, sorting, stack queue. Up to stack queue is more than enough. So we'll try to do those things in Python, right? So sorting functions, searching, and stack queue application, we can try to implement in Python. So that will be our last topic. So for the next 2 to 3 classes, we are going to explore some more features like this: inbuilt functions, regular expression, and there is a NumPy module. So it is there in your W3 schools. You can explore NumPy module, very important. Then after this, we'll just start with the DSA. Okay, so generator expression is one more important concept in Python, which we have. So let's take some list of numbers. Okay, so list comprehension, right? So how does list comprehension works? For example, just tell me the output of this code, whatever I'm going to do. Okay, so what it is doing, cube root of the list of elements, right? So 1 power 3, 2 power 3, 3 power 3, right? So it is taking cube root of the list of numbers. So I will do the same thing using some other way. Okay, so we are getting some output, right? Generator object. What is this output? So int argument must be string, a byte-like object, a real number, not generator. So we can't convert that result into integer. Let's take list. Okay, right? So both of them are generating the same output, right? But what is the difference? Is there any difference? Anyone tried this or simply copying from each other? Some of you might have tried this. I've seen in your code submission. Many of you have tried it. I don't know whether you know the concept or simply doing it. What is the difference between generator and list comparison? Okay, that is the return address is fine. Syntax wise, is there any difference? List will give the complete output as it is, whereas generator will return the some memory address. Yes, Nikhil is right, but syntax wise, there is no difference, right? It's a very important question. Generator expression versus list comprehension. So both of them are doing the same work, but in terms of memory efficient, generator is more powerful compared to the list, right? So that's why when people want to optimize the code, they will always use generator expression, not the list expression. Okay, so I'll take some example before you we solve some problems or like understand what is the main advantage of it. So same code or else like delete this. Okay. Okay, I have to use generator. So what is the difference, main difference between generator and list comprehension? For list comprehension, we use square bracket. For generator expression, we use normal bracket. So that is one difference. So generator expressions are created using normal bracket. Okay. Let's start with some other number. Okay, now tell me what is happening when I'm typing this next of Z. I'll type it next of Z again. What is happening for each print statement? What value it is returning? Understand it carefully because it's one of the important question. First index, then index plus one. So what you are understanding by this? Basically, when you use the same thing using list will produce entire output first and store it in Z, correct? Whereas generator will not generate all the output at once. It will ask for you whether you want to see the entire output or like whether you want to access it one by one. Okay, next acting as I in LST from that expression. Yes, that is what it is doing. So basically, the main difference is generator doesn't generate the entire output at once, right? It will only do it until you ask for it. Whereas the list will always complete the final output and then store it somewhere. Then we have to access it. For example, if I am trying to use list syntax here, this will not work because list object is not an iterator, whereas generator is an iterator. So right, iterator means accessing one by one, correct? So this is more powerful because it is not storing any intermediate result somewhere, correct? It is only calculating one by one based on your requirement. So in that way, this is going to be more helpful to save the time and memory compared to the list comprehension. So now whenever you want to apply this kind of logic, from now on, what is a better option? The generator will be the better option because it will save a lot of time and space also, like space complexity also, it will reduce. So one more example I will take for your understanding. Here, next I'm using, right? So I'll not use next. We'll use something else. Uh, okay, let me take some string name. Okay, so let's call some function. You know how to create function, right? Using def keyword. So generator generally comes with this yield keyword, yield str1. Okay. So the return type of generator is always a memory address. So you have to convert it into some list, right? So when you use again instead of yield, I can use return also. It will work, correct? But the difference between yield and return is yield will again uh, send you one value at a time, whereas return will like complete output at a time it will send. See here, I'm not passing any values to the function, but I'm asking to yield this value. Yield means generate the value, right? So it is generating the value, then it is returning. So, but it is not going to store any extra. I mean, it is not going to use any extra memory for it to do this task, unlike return keyword. So return, if you use that is again compared to yield, it will take more time and space, right? So if you don't want to print both the values at a time, what you can do, you can just call next and res. Now you are going to get only one value because even though you have written this will not throw any error. But if I can't do this using return keyword, right? So suppose, can you have multiple return statements in a function? No, right? So you can't have multiple return statement in the function. For example, see here. So this is not going to work. It is only returning Python. In Python, it works. In C, it is not going to work. So in C, you can only have one return statement. But here, I am using two return statements. Still, it is working because the language is different. But what you are understanding is yield function. So let's if I use next object. So will it work? No. So here, the same return I will change with yield, right? Again, this also has to be changed to yield. You can't have return for generator. Okay. Then if I want to access the second string, again, I will write next of res. I will get the second string. So basically, you see the values are generated based on your requirement. That's the only difference, right? So in simple terms, if you want to put it into the words, right? The generator function generates the value like casually in the sense it doesn't care about entire output one at a time. So it doesn't store all the output in the memory at once, right? So this is very useful when you have large data set. Whereas the normal function, if you see, it will store all the output in the memory at once, then it returns it. Want to display second element? No, I don't think it's possible. You can't directly yield the second element. It has to go one by one. So if you want to, like, for example, let's take some other example. Like you'll understand. Okay, so after this we'll wind up. We'll continue this generator again in the coming session because you need to understand some more problems. Okay. Okay, yield spelling is wrong. Chan object. Okay. Print the next of. Okay. Wrong. I have to give the result, right? The reference name for this function. Yeah. So you can see, or else I'll for I in range of 4 to n. I'll give n here, and here I'll start from square 20. So now you see why it is only printing 16, because I'm yielding only that particular value, right? So 20 is my n value. So 4 to 20, we are going. So 4 square is 16. It is only printing 16. Then if I want to see the next value, again, I'll call with the reference name res. Now I'm getting 25 because though for loop you are using, right? Though you are calling this square function through this reference, right? So the generator here is, which one is generator? This one is the generator. Squares, this entire thing is a generator for which the reference name is res. So you can't call that generator directly. Suppose if I call it squares of n. Yeah, this you can do it. And now you'll get all the values at once, because you wanted all at once, it is going to generate it. But if I want only few values, you can use next, right? So what is the next value? Basically iterating one by one. So the normal function, otherwise, what will the normal function do? It will first construct all the values, then return the result, right? So like return I par 2 for I in range 4n. You have to store that value somewhere, and then you have to return that result into the main function, correct? So here we are yielding the value one by one without returning it to the main function. Again, that is one more advantage, correct? So we are not actually returning into the main function. So we are just yielding them and extracting them one by one, correct? Any doubt in this? So we'll see some more examples. We'll get some clarity. So till that time, please explore generator syntax basics, how to do it using yield. Then I will see to get some good examples in the next session. We'll solve few more problems based on generator. Is that clear? Okay, so it's already 8:06. We will see in the next session. So till that time, please complete the already I have enabled assessment problems. So those who executed in the assessment test also need to execute in the main Python course, because I'm going to delete the assessment test too once I download the report, performance report. So you guys need to download, I mean, you guys need to submit in the main course also. Is that clear? Okay, so just keep practicing. Based on all these topics, I will add a new question. So next session, please don't miss it, because it's very important. Python regular expression while covering generator. After this, we will go with the Python regular expressions, right? Then once that is done, we will directly start the Python data structures. Okay, so have a good day. Good night. Thank you.